If you enjoyed this audiobook, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Chapter 1: The Feed That Never Sleeps. Part 1: Your phone knows you're broke before you do. The moment your fingers start scrolling, sophisticated algorithms are already calculating your financial vulnerability better than you understand it yourself. Sarah Martinez thought she had her spending under control. A marketing manager from Phoenix, she tracked her expenses religiously and stuck to her budget. Yet every month, mysterious charges appeared on her credit card statements. The culprit wasn't identity theft or billing errors. It was her Instagram feed. Research from Duke University reveals that people make financial decisions within 3 seconds of seeing social media content. 3 seconds. That's less time than it takes to read a price tag. Yet it's enough time for your brain to process envy, desire, and social comparison. Sarah's midnight scrolling sessions consistently ended with impulse purchases she couldn't remember making the next morning. Your smartphone has become the most sophisticated financial manipulation device ever created. Unlike traditional advertising that required you to physically visit stores, social media creates a seamless pathway from stimulus to purchase. See a friend's new watch on Instagram, tap the tagged brand, add to cart, buy now. The entire transaction happens before your rational mind can intervene. Meta's internal documents, released during the 2021 congressional hearings, revealed that the company tracks what they call emotional engagement patterns. When you linger on posts about luxury goods or pause while watching vacation videos, the algorithm notes your hesitation. It interprets that pause as interest and floods your feed with similar content designed to amplify those feelings. Dr. Anna Lemke from Stanford Medical School studied this phenomenon and found that social media platforms deliberately create what she calls dopamine deficit states. After seeing aspirational content, users experience a temporary emotional low that makes them more susceptible to immediate gratification purchases. Your brain, seeking to restore balance, craves the quick hit of satisfaction that comes from buying something. The average smartphone user receives 80 notifications per day. Each notification is a potential financial trigger, pulling you back into an environment designed to make you feel inadequate about your current possessions, lifestyle, or financial status. This creates what behavioral economists call ambient financial pressure, a constant low-level anxiety about money that exists just below conscious awareness. Consider how different this is from how humans made financial decisions for thousands of years. Previously, you saw what your neighbors owned, maybe what was in the local store window. Your comparison group was limited to maybe a few hundred people in your immediate community. Now you're comparing yourself to millions of carefully curated highlight reels every time you check your phone. The speed of this comparison cycle has created entirely new categories of financial behavior. Revenge spending surged during pandemic lockdowns as people tried to restore feelings of control through purchases. FOMO investing led millions to buy stocks they didn't understand simply because they saw others doing it online. Your phone doesn't just know you're financially vulnerable. It's actively working to keep you that way, because financial anxiety drives engagement, and engagement drives revenue. The question isn't whether social media influences your spending. The question is whether you're aware enough of that influence to make conscious choices about it. Part 2. The attention economy has a price tag. That scrolling session just cost you more than time. It cost you financial independence. And the bill keeps growing with every swipe. When Tim Wu first wrote about attention merchants in 2016, Facebook was making $27.6 billion annually. By 2022, that number had soared to over $117 billion. Where did this money come from? You. Not directly from your wallet, but from something far more valuable, your attention, which companies then use to rewire your financial decisions. The business model is brutally simple. Facebook doesn't charge you to scroll because you are not the customer. You are the product. The real customers are the advertisers who pay billions to access your eyeballs, your emotions, and most importantly, your financial vulnerabilities. Every time you pause on a post about someone's new car, linger on an investment tip, or react to a luxury brand's content, that behavior gets cataloged, analyzed, and sold. Consider this. Robinhood, the trading app that gamified investing, spent $324 million on advertising in 2021 alone. Much of this went directly to social media platforms to target young users with messages about quick wealth. The result? Trading volume among retail investors exploded, but studies showed that 80% of day traders lose money. The platforms profited from the engagement, Robinhood profited from the trades, and users lost their savings. The financial services industry has become one of the largest buyers of social media advertising space. Credit card companies bid aggressively for your attention when algorithms detect financial stress in your behavior patterns. Buy now, pay later services like Klarna and Afterpay spend millions targeting users who show signs of impulse shopping behavior. Cryptocurrency exchanges pour resources into reaching people who engage with get-rich-quick content. This creates a feedback loop that Robert Shiller would recognize as a dangerous narrative contagion. The platforms need you to stay engaged, so they show you content that triggers strong emotional responses. Financial anxiety, FOMO, and social comparison are engagement goldmines. The more financially insecure you feel, the more you scroll. The more you scroll, the more financial products get pushed toward you. The cycle accelerates. Your attention has literally become a commodity traded on digital exchanges, and the price is your financial well-being. Part 3. From Water Cooler to Twitter. How financial gossip went global. Your local coffee shop barista once only had their coworkers' financial opinions to influence their investment choices. The transformation of financial conversation from local gossip to global phenomenon happened faster than most people realize. In 1995, when the Motley Fool launched its online message boards, a stock tip shared in Virginia could reach investors in California within hours. That felt revolutionary at the time. Today, a single tweet from an anonymous account can move GameStop's stock price before most people finish their morning coffee. Consider what happened in January 2021. A Reddit user named DeepFuckingValue posted screenshots of his GameStop position on Wall Street Bets. Within days, his analysis had been viewed millions of times across platforms. Traditional hedge funds that had bet against the struggling video game retailer suddenly faced losses in the billions. The same story that once would have remained confined to a small investment club had created a global financial earthquake. Robert Shiller's research on narrative economics shows us why this matters. Financial stories don't just spread anymore, they mutate as they travel. A careful analysis becomes a confident prediction. A reasonable investment thesis transforms into a get-rich-quick scheme. Each retelling amplifies the emotional impact while often losing the original nuance. The speed creates its own problems. When financial information moves at the pace of gossip, verification becomes nearly impossible. A rumor about Apple's quarterly earnings can circle Twitter 17 times before the company's actual press release goes live. By then, millions of people have already formed strong opinions based on incomplete information. This creates what researchers call information cascades, situations where people make decisions based on what they think others know rather than their own analysis. When you see a stock tip liked by thousands of people, your brain interprets those likes as evidence that the tip must be valuable. The social proof overwhelms rational evaluation. Financial influencers understand this dynamic perfectly. They dress speculation in confident language, accumulate large follower counts, and present themselves as successful traders. To your brain, scanning their content quickly, they look identical to legitimate financial experts. The platform amplifies this confusion by treating all content equally in the feed. The result is that your investment decisions are increasingly shaped by voices you've never met, sharing advice you can't verify, about companies they may not understand. The local coffee shop conversation has become a global shouting match, and everyone thinks they're winning. Part 4. Why your brain treats a viral tweet like breaking news. Your brain evolved to survive on the African savanna, where fast reactions to urgent information could save your life. It never learned to distinguish between a charging lion, and a viral stock tip. When a financial post goes viral, your brain's alarm system activates. Daniel Kahneman called this System 1 thinking, the fast, emotional processor that jumps to conclusions without careful analysis. This ancient circuit worked perfectly when humans lived in small tribes where information traveled slowly. But social media has broken that system. Consider what happened in January 2021 when GameStop posts flooded Reddit's Wall Street bets. Within hours, millions of people saw the same message. Everyone was buying this stock. Your brain processes this flood of activity as breaking news. The urgency signals fire. The same neural pathways that once helped you escape predators now push you toward your trading app. The speed matters more than you realize. Information velocity, how fast news travels, directly impacts your ability to think critically. When Warren Buffett analyzes a company, he takes months. When a TikTok video shows someone making thousands on crypto, you have 30 seconds to decide before the feed moves on. Your brain doesn't have time to engage System 2 thinking, the slower, deliberate analysis that makes good financial decisions. Robert Cialdini identified social proof as one of our strongest psychological triggers. We look to others for guidance on what's normal or correct. This worked when others meant your village. Now, others means millions of strangers whose real motivations you can't see. When 50,000 people like a post about a guaranteed investment strategy, your brain interprets that consensus as validation. Financial influencers exploit this perfectly. They accumulate large followings, speak with confident authority, and present themselves as successful traders. To your pattern-matching brain, scanning content quickly, they appear identical to legitimate experts. The platform treats all content equally in your feed, amplifying this confusion. Max Fisher's research on algorithmic amplification shows how platforms boost content that generates strong emotional responses. Financial content that makes you feel urgency, fear, or greed gets pushed higher in your feed. Your brain experiences each encounter as breaking news, even when it's recycled advice from someone with no credentials. The result is that your investment decisions increasingly happen in an artificial state of emergency, driven by strangers you've never met, sharing advice you can't verify about opportunities that may not exist. Chapter 2: Everyone online is rich, and you're not. Part 1: The highlight reel economy. When you scroll through Instagram, you're not watching real life unfold. You're attending a carefully curated exhibition where everyone is showcasing their greatest hits. This fundamental misunderstanding shapes how millions of people think about money every single day. Consider what happened to Sarah Chen, a 28-year-old marketing manager in Chicago. In 2022, she was earning $75,000 annually and living comfortably in a one-bedroom apartment. Her savings account held $15,000, and she felt financially stable. Then she started following lifestyle influencers on Instagram and TikTok. Within 6 months, everything changed. The constant stream of penthouse tours, designer handbag hauls, and first-class travel posts made her modest apartment feel cramped. Her reliable Honda Civic seemed embarrassing next to the Tesla Model S featured in every other story. Sarah's definition of normal had been completely rewritten by her feed. The numbers tell this story at scale. A 2023 study by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston found that people who spend more than 2 hours daily on aspirational social media platforms carry 37% more credit card debt than those who don't. They also report 40% higher financial dissatisfaction, even when controlling for actual income levels. This isn't accidental. Social media algorithms specifically reward extreme displays of wealth because they generate the most engagement. A video of someone buying groceries gets 500 views. A video of someone buying a $5,000 handbag gets 50,000 views. The platform's revenue depends on attention, so it surfaces content that triggers the strongest emotional responses. Morgan Housel explains this perfectly in The Psychology of Money. In real life, wealth is largely invisible. The millionaire next door drives a used Toyota and shops at Target. But online, wealth is hyper-visible and exaggerated. This creates what researchers call performative prosperity, spending money primarily to document and broadcast the spending. Take James Charles, who built an empire partly by showcasing an impossibly luxurious lifestyle to his mostly teenage audience. His house tours and shopping sprees weren't just entertainment. They were reference points that shifted his viewers' expectations about what success looks like. The psychological mechanism here is brutal in its simplicity. When we see others' highlight reels constantly, our brains interpret this as normal. We start comparing our behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's carefully produced performance. This comparison doesn't just make us feel bad, it makes us spend. What's your current definition of enough? Has it changed since you started using social media? Most people discover their financial goals have been quietly rewritten by their feeds, often without realizing it happened. Part 2. FOMO is a financial strategy now. That's not a character flaw on your part. It's engineering. Companies discovered something remarkable about human psychology in the last decade. They found they could take an ancient survival instinct and turn it into reliable profit. Fear of missing out isn't just an emotion anymore. It's a business model. Think about the last time you bought something because of a countdown timer. Maybe it was a limited-time investment opportunity, a crypto coin that was about to moon, or just a flash sale that ended in 4 hours. Your brain responded to that ticking clock the same way your ancestors responded to winter approaching. The threat of scarcity triggers immediate action. GameStop taught Wall Street something fascinating in 2021. Retail traders, driven by Reddit threads and TikTok videos, moved billions of dollars in a matter of days. These weren't sophisticated investors making calculated decisions. They were regular people, afraid of missing the biggest financial opportunity of their lifetime. The fear was so powerful, it overrode basic financial logic for millions of people simultaneously. Trading platforms learned from this. Robinhood's push notifications arrive at precisely calculated moments. When Bitcoin jumps 5% in an hour, you get an alert. When your friends start talking about a stock, the app reminds you that you could be trading right now. These aren't helpful updates. They're psychological triggers designed to create urgency when your defenses are lowest. Research by Dan Ariely shows something counterintuitive about FOMO-driven decisions. People don't just want things because they're valuable. They want things because other people appear to want them. When investment apps show you which stocks are trending or which cryptocurrencies are most bought today, they're not providing information. They're manufacturing demand through artificial social proof. The cruelest part? The system works best when you're already feeling financially insecure. Late at night, scrolling through stories of people who made fortunes in crypto or day trading, your brain starts calculating what you're losing every minute you're not participating. This isn't accidental timing. Platforms track when users are most emotionally vulnerable and surface the most triggering content exactly then. Your FOMO isn't a personal weakness. It's a product feature that someone is getting paid to activate. Part 3. Influencers, gurus, and the new face of financial advice. This new ecosystem didn't emerge overnight. Something profound shifted around 2012 when YouTube began paying creators and smartphones put professional video production in everyone's pocket. Traditional financial advisors, with their suits and certificates, suddenly found themselves competing against 24-year-old college dropouts filming investment advice in their bedrooms. The numbers tell the story. By 2023, financial content had generated over 10 billion views on TikTok alone. Meanwhile, the average American visits a financial advisor once every 3 years. The influencers aren't just winning the attention game, they're rewriting who we trust with our money. Dave Ramsey built his empire on radio, but today's financial influencers operate differently. Take Graham Stephan, who parlayed real estate success into 4.2 million YouTube subscribers by sharing his McDonald's coffee habit and credit card reward strategies. Or Kevin O'Leary, who transformed from Shark Tank investor to crypto promoter pushing FTX partnerships right up until the exchange collapsed. The appeal is undeniable. These personalities speak like friends, not professionals. They share their failures alongside successes. When traditional advisors charge hundreds per hour, influencers offer advice for free. They're available whenever you're scrolling, ready with exactly the confident answer you want to hear. Robert Cialdini's research explains why this works so powerfully. We trust people we like, and we trust people who seem authoritative. Financial influencers have cracked both codes. They build parasocial relationships through consistent content, making viewers feel personally connected. They establish authority not through credentials, but through confidence and relatable success stories. But here's what most people miss: the structural incentives that shape every word they say. When Anthony Pompliano promotes a crypto exchange, he earns commission on every sign-up. When Robert Kiyosaki pushes precious metals, he's paid by the dealers. When trading gurus sell courses promising passive income, the only guaranteed passive income flows to them. The misalignment runs deeper than affiliate links. Influencers need engagement to survive. Boring advice like invest in index funds and wait 20 years doesn't generate clicks. Dramatic stories about overnight crypto fortunes do. The algorithm rewards extreme content, so even well-meaning influencers face constant pressure to sensationalize. Consider the 2021 GameStop saga. Reddit's Wall Street bets didn't just move markets. It created a new model where anonymous internet personalities could trigger billions in trading volume through memes and peer pressure. Traditional finance struggled to explain what was happening, while 20-somethings with screen names like Deep Fucking Value became folk heroes. The casualties pile up quietly. Followers of trading influencer Timothy Sykes lost millions trying to replicate his penny stock strategies. Crypto YouTuber BitBoy Crypto's audience suffered massive losses following his altcoin recommendations. These aren't isolated incidents. They're predictable outcomes when engagement incentives clash with fiduciary responsibility. Here's your evaluation framework. Before trusting any financial voice online, ask 3 questions. First, how do they make money? Second, what would happen to their income if their advice actually worked long-term for everyone? Third, would their content exist if it weren't profitable to produce? The answers usually reveal whether you're receiving advice or being sold something dressed as advice. Part 4. How envy became a marketing tool. What if your secret financial weakness isn't overspending, but something much more primal? Let me tell you about Karen, a 34-year-old marketing manager from Denver. She earns $85,000 annually, has good savings habits, and considers herself financially responsible. Then, her college roommates started posting Instagram stories from her new Manhattan penthouse. Within 6 months, Karen had signed up for a premium credit card with a $550 annual fee, booked a $3,000 vacation to compete with her feed, and opened a high-risk trading account. She couldn't explain why. The answer isn't complicated. It's envy, and it's being weaponized against your wallet. Leon Festinger discovered something crucial in 1954. Humans are hardwired to measure their worth by comparing themselves to others. This wasn't a problem when others meant your immediate neighbors. But social media has exploded that reference group to include millions of strangers living their highlight reels. Now your brain constantly processes upward social comparisons, measuring yourself against people who appear more successful, wealthy, or fulfilled. Recent behavioral studies reveal disturbing patterns. Researchers at Boston University found that people who spent more time viewing aspirational content on Instagram increased their monthly spending by an average of 31% within 3 months. Another study, tracking 12,000 Facebook users, showed that exposure to friends' vacation photos correlated with a 23% increase in travel-related debt accumulation. Your envy doesn't just hurt, it spends money. When you see someone else's success, your brain interprets it as your personal loss. Daniel Kahneman's research on loss aversion explains why. We feel losses twice as intensely as equivalent gains. That vacation your friend posted? Your brain processes it as something that was taken from you, not something they earned. Marketers know this. Chase Sapphire Reserve doesn't advertise rewards points. It shows people boarding private jets. Robinhood doesn't promote long-term investing. It highlights day traders' instant profits. These companies have refined envy into a precision instrument. The algorithm accelerates this process. Social media feeds are structurally designed to surface content that generates strong emotional reactions, and nothing generates clicks like aspiration mixed with inadequacy. The platform profits from your envy by keeping you engaged, then monetizes that engagement by selling your attention to advertisers, selling solutions to the inadequacy they helped create. Recognition is the first step toward resistance. When you feel that familiar pang while scrolling, the subtle disappointment that someone else has what you want, pause. What is this emotion trying to sell me? Chapter 3. The Mob Has a Portfolio. Part 1. The GameStop Story Nobody Fully Told You. The real GameStop story starts with a 24-year-old named Keith Gill, who went by Deep Fucking Value on Reddit. In 2019, when GameStop traded at $4 per share, Gill posted detailed analysis showing the company was undervalued. His posts combined traditional financial research with memes and casual language that made complex ideas accessible to anyone with a smartphone. What happened next wasn't just about money. It was about belonging. The Wall Street Bets community latched onto Gill's GameStop thesis not because they all suddenly became expert retail analysts, but because his story felt like their story. Here was a regular guy with a modest portfolio taking on Wall Street giants who had bet billions that GameStop would fail. The psychology behind this is surprisingly simple. When Robert Shiller studied narrative economics, he found that powerful stories spread like viruses, changing how entire populations think about value and risk. The GameStop narrative hit every emotional trigger: the underdog versus the establishment, regular people versus elite hedge funds, diamond hands versus paper hands. But here's what most people missed. The story became more important than the actual business. GameStop was still losing money, still closing stores, still struggling to compete with digital game downloads. Yet the stock price climbed from $20 to $480 in weeks because millions of people bought into a narrative that had little connection to the company's financial reality. The participants had wildly different motivations. Some genuinely believed GameStop was undervalued. Others wanted to punish hedge funds they saw as predatory. Many were just bored during pandemic lockdowns, treating the stock market like entertainment. Still others chased the possibility of quick wealth they couldn't find through traditional means. The devastating part came later. When the narrative collapsed and GameStop fell back toward reality, the losses weren't evenly distributed. Keith Gill, who had been investing for years and understood the risks, kept much of his gains. Melvin Capital, the hedge fund that bet against GameStop, eventually shut down. But thousands of ordinary investors who bought at $300 or $400 per share lost life-changing amounts of money. This wasn't about market manipulation or conspiracy. It was about what happens when financial decisions become social and cultural acts instead of economic calculations. The crowd wasn't wrong to follow the story. Following successful people is often smart. The problem was distinguishing between genuine financial insight and a compelling narrative that felt true but wasn't backed by business fundamentals. Part 2. Meme stocks, meme coins, and meme thinking. GameStop was just the beginning. What happened next was the transformation of the entire financial ecosystem into something that would have been unrecognizable to investors just 20 years ago. After GameStop, a parade of meme stocks followed the same pattern. AMC Entertainment, a struggling movie theater chain, saw its stock price rocket from $2 to over $70. BlackBerry, a smartphone company that had already lost its relevance, experienced similar surges. Each followed the GameStop playbook: social media buzz, retail investor excitement, short squeezes, and eventually painful crashes that left ordinary investors holding worthless positions. But the real innovation wasn't in stocks at all. It was in cryptocurrency. Dogecoin, created as a literal joke in 2013, became worth more than major corporations when Elon Musk tweeted about it. A single tweet could add billions to its market value overnight. Shiba Inu, another dox-themed coin with no practical purpose, created thousands of millionaires on paper before most of them lost everything when the hype faded. The pattern became predictable. Someone with a large social media following would mention an asset. Reddit communities would form around it. YouTube videos would appear with titles like, "This coin will make you rich." TikTok would explode with teenagers explaining complex financial instruments they barely understood. The price would soar. Late arrivals would buy at the peak. The early promoters would quietly sell. The asset would crash, leaving behind a trail of financial destruction that nobody talked about. This wasn't just about individual assets anymore. It was about a fundamentally different way of thinking about money and investment. Traditional financial analysis asked questions like, what does this company actually do? How much money does it make? What are its competitive advantages? The new approach asked different questions. How many people are talking about this? Is it trending? Will I be left out if I don't buy? Nassim Taleb's concept of survivorship bias explains why this thinking spread so quickly. The winners from meme assets were incredibly loud about their success. They posted screenshots of their gains. They started YouTube channels. They became mini celebrities. The thousands of people who lost money remained quiet, embarrassed, invisible. This created a dangerous illusion. For every person who made life-changing money on Dogecoin, there were hundreds who lost significant amounts. But you only heard from the winners. Social media algorithms, designed to show engaging content, amplified the success stories while burying the failures. What emerged was meme thinking, the tendency to evaluate all financial opportunities through the lens of social momentum rather than economic reality. When the number of Reddit mentions becomes more important than a company's revenue, when a celebrity tweet carries more weight than an earnings report, you've moved beyond traditional investing into something entirely different. The tragedy is that meme thinking didn't stay contained to meme assets. It began influencing how people approached all their financial decisions, from retirement planning to real estate to career choices, creating a generation of investors who confuse social proof with actual evidence. Part 3. Why herd behavior feels so logical in the moment. When your Instagram feed shows dozens of people celebrating their crypto gains, following the crowd doesn't feel like weakness. It feels like intelligence. Your brain is doing exactly what evolution trained it to do. For hundreds of thousands of years, watching what others do and copying successful behaviors kept our ancestors alive. When the group moved away from danger or toward food, individuals who followed survived. Those who ignored the group often died alone. This same wiring makes modern herd behavior feel completely rational. When you see friends posting screenshots of their stock gains, when financial Twitter buzzes about the same opportunity, when Reddit threads pile up with success stories, your brain processes this as valuable information. And in many contexts throughout history, it would be. The problem is that social media has broken the crowd detection system that kept humans alive for millennia. Consider what happened with Dogecoin in 2021. Millions of people saw the same viral success stories, the same celebrity endorsements, the same Reddit excitement. To each individual, it looked like everyone was getting rich. The rational response seemed obvious: join the movement before it was too late. But everyone was actually a tiny, algorithmically amplified minority. Most people weren't buying Dogecoin. Most people weren't even paying attention. Yet the platform algorithms made it seem like universal consensus existed when none actually did. Daniel Kahneman spent decades studying how people confuse noise for signal. Social media amplifies this confusion by making random noise look like meaningful information. When 100 people post about the same stock tip, your brain reads it as confirmation from independent sources. In reality, they're all sharing the same viral misinformation that originated from one person with no credentials. The social cost of not following makes everything worse. Missing out on GameStop didn't just mean losing money, it meant being excluded from conversations, feeling stupid while others celebrated, watching friends succeed while you stood on the sidelines. That fear of being wrong alone, of missing the obvious opportunity that everyone saw coming, drives perfectly intelligent people into financial disasters. Your brain can't tell the difference between an artificial crowd and a real one. Part 4. When a viral story is worth more than a balance sheet. When Elizabeth Holmes stepped onto that Stanford stage in 2003, clutching a business plan built on a single drop of blood, she had no working technology, no proven results, and no realistic path to the revolutionary medical testing she promised. What she did have was a story so compelling that it would eventually be worth more than $9 billion, at least on paper. Holmes understood something that traditional financial analysis missed. In a world where information travels at the speed of a tweet, the story often becomes the reality. Theranos wasn't selling blood tests. It was selling the narrative of a young genius disrupting a corrupt medical establishment. Investors weren't buying into lab equipment or clinical trials. They were buying into the idea of being part of something revolutionary. This is what economist Robert Shiller calls narrative economics, the way that viral stories shape economic outcomes more powerfully than spreadsheets or balance sheets. But social media has transformed this ancient human tendency into something unprecedented. A compelling story can now reach millions of people instantly, creating collective belief that becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. Consider Tesla's remarkable journey. In 2010, the company had sold fewer than 2,500 cars and posted losses every single quarter. Traditional auto analysts looked at Tesla's fundamentals and saw a small, unprofitable manufacturer in an industry dominated by giants with century-long head starts. They were technically correct, but they missed the story. Tesla's narrative was electric, clean energy, space-age technology, sticking it to big oil, and a charismatic CEO who tweeted memes while sending rockets to space. This story spread across social media platforms, creating a community of believers who saw Tesla stock not as a bet on quarterly earnings, but as a vote for the future of transportation. The story became so powerful that Tesla's market value eventually exceeded the combined worth of Toyota, Volkswagen, and General Motors, companies that produced millions more vehicles and generated actual profits. This phenomenon creates what financial researchers now call a story premium, the extra value markets assign to assets with compelling narratives beyond what fundamental analysis would justify. Before social media, story premiums were limited by how quickly tales could spread. A charismatic CEO might convince investors at a conference. A compelling magazine article might influence readers. But the reach was bounded by physical distribution. Social media removed those boundaries. Now a single tweet from Elon Musk could add billions to Tesla's market value in minutes. A Reddit post about GameStop could mobilize hundreds of thousands of traders in hours. A TikTok video about cryptocurrency could create overnight millionaires and equally sudden bankruptcies. The crypto boom perfectly illustrates this dynamic. Dogecoin began as a joke, literally featuring a meme dog as its mascot. It had no unique technology, no revolutionary use case, no fundamental reason to exist beyond satire. But the story, a fun, accessible alternative to serious cryptocurrencies, backed by the world's richest man's tweets, drove its value up by over 12,000% in 2021. Sam Bankman-Fried built FTX on a similar narrative foundation. The story was irresistible. A young math genius who lived simply, drove a Toyota Corolla, and planned to give away his fortune to effective charities. His exchange would clean up crypto's Wild West reputation through responsible regulation and ethical leadership. This narrative attracted $32 billion in investor funding and made Bankman-Fried worth $26 billion on paper. The story was completely false. Behind the carefully crafted public image, FTX was using customer deposits to cover massive losses at Bankman-Fried's trading firm. When the truth emerged, the entire edifice collapsed in days. Billions of dollars in real money vanished because investors had valued a fictional narrative over financial reality. These cases reveal a disturbing truth. We no longer live in a world where data drives decisions and stories provide color commentary. Stories have become the primary driver, with data serving merely as supporting evidence for predetermined narratives. When a story gains enough social media momentum, contradicting facts become irrelevant details. This creates a fundamental challenge for anyone making financial decisions today. You're not just competing against math and analysis. You're competing against narratives that can mobilize millions of people and move billions of dollars based on emotion, hope, and social proof rather than economic fundamentals. The most dangerous part is how natural this feels. Humans are storytelling creatures. We understand the world through narratives, not numbers. When someone explains why Tesla will revolutionize transportation or why Dogecoin represents financial democracy, those stories resonate in ways that quarterly earnings reports never could. Your brain wants to believe compelling stories, especially when they promise to make you rich while making you part of something meaningful. This psychological vulnerability, amplified by social media's echo chambers, creates perfect conditions for narrative-driven financial bubbles that hurt ordinary people who mistake viral stories for investment wisdom. The solution isn't to ignore stories entirely. That's impossible and counterproductive. Stories contain real information about human behavior, market sentiment, and future possibilities. The key is developing the ability to separate story from substance, to enjoy the narrative while making decisions based on evidence. Chapter 4. Fast Fingers, Slow Thinking. Part 1. Your brain was not built for this. Your ancient brain encounters modern financial media like a caveman trying to navigate a Formula One race. Consider this. Your cognitive architecture evolved over 300,000 years to process information in small tribes, face-to-face conversations, and immediate physical threats. The smartphone arrived 15 years ago. This mismatch isn't just inconvenient, it's financially dangerous. Daniel Kahneman spent decades documenting how our mental shortcuts work against us, but social media amplifies these errors to unprecedented levels. Take availability bias, the tendency to overweight vivid, recent information. Your brain evolved to remember the tiger that nearly killed your neighbor because that information could save your life. Today, this same system makes you overweight the crypto success story you saw this morning and underweight boring index fund returns. When GameStop exploded in January 2021, millions of retail investors couldn't resist. They saw vivid stories of ordinary people making extraordinary gains. The mundane reality that most day traders lose money felt abstract compared to the immediate, emotionally charged testimonials flooding their feeds. Anchoring bias makes this worse. That first stock price you see in a viral post becomes your reference point. If Tesla was mentioned at $800 in a TikTok video, everything below feels like a bargain. Everything above feels expensive. Your brain treats random social media mentions as meaningful financial data. The narrative fallacy completes the trap. Humans compulsively create stories to explain random events. Social media feeds you endless financial narratives. This stock will moon because, or I bought this crypto because I saw the signs. These stories feel more true than they are because your brain craves causal explanations. But here's the most insidious part. Platforms deliberately present financial decisions when your critical thinking is weakest. Late-night scrolling depletes your mental resources. After 30 minutes of dopamine-driven content consumption, your brain enters what researchers call cognitive load exploitation, a state where complex financial decisions feel simple and urgent purchases feel necessary. Research from MIT shows people make significantly worse financial decisions after extended social media use. Your intelligence isn't failing you. It's being systematically bypassed by interfaces designed to do exactly that. Part 2. The dopamine loop of buying, posting, and repeating. Here's what happened when Anna Chen bought her first designer handbag after seeing it on Instagram. She felt amazing for about 3 minutes. That 3-minute window tells us everything about how social media shopping works. Anna's brain released dopamine the moment she saw the bag on her favorite influencer's feed. More dopamine fired when she clicked Buy Now. The chemical reward system was already satisfied before the bag even arrived at her door. This is the most important thing to understand about dopamine. It doesn't reward you for getting what you want. It rewards you for wanting what you might get. Dr. Robert Sapolsky's research at Stanford shows that dopamine neurons fire strongest during uncertainty, not satisfaction. The moment Anna knew she owned the bag, her brain chemistry moved on to finding the next thing to want. Anna posted a photo of herself with the bag within hours of it arriving. She received 47 likes and 12 comments. Her brain got another small dopamine hit from each notification. But here's where the cycle becomes financially dangerous. The social validation was brief, and the handbag itself provided no lasting satisfaction. Within a week, Anna was scrolling again, primed for the next purchase that might recreate that initial rush. Instagram deliberately designed their shopping feature to exploit this biology. When they introduced tags in 2016 that let users tap directly on products and photos, they weren't just making shopping more convenient. They were collapsing the time between desire and transaction to eliminate the natural cooling-off period that might interrupt the dopamine-driven purchase decision. TikTok Shop went even further. Their algorithm serves shopping content during what internal documents call peak susceptibility windows, moments when users have been scrolling for more than 20 minutes and their critical thinking is most impaired. ByteDance's own research showed that purchase completion rates were 67% higher when shopping prompts appeared after extended scrolling sessions versus at the beginning of a user session. The social component creates a separate problem entirely. Dan Ariely's experiments at Duke University found that people spend 12 to 38% more on items they intend to share on social media versus identical items they plan to keep private. The performance aspect of consumption operates independently of actual desire or need. You're not buying the coffee maker because you want better coffee. You're buying it because you want to be seen as someone who owns that particular coffee maker. This performance imperative is invisible but expensive. MIT researcher Duncan Watts tracked the purchase patterns of 50,000 social media users and found that items bought for social media posts were 40% more likely to remain unused after 6 months compared to items purchased without sharing intent. People were literally paying hundreds of dollars for social media props. The most insidious part? Each post creates what researchers call commitment escalation. Once Anna identified herself publicly as someone who buys designer handbags, her brain began seeking purchases that reinforced this identity. The first bag wasn't just a purchase, it was a public declaration that required increasingly expensive evidence to maintain credibility. Part 3. Why smart people make dumb trades online. The smartest people you know are making the dumbest financial decisions online, and their intelligence is working against them. Dr. Sarah Chen was everything you'd want in a financial advisor. MBA from Wharton, CFA certification, 20 years managing portfolios for wealthy clients. She understood compound interest, diversification, and risk management better than 99% of the population. Yet, in January 2021, she bought GameStop at $300 per share because her Twitter feed convinced her that retail traders had discovered something institutional money missed. Chen's story illustrates a troubling pattern that researchers have documented across multiple studies. Higher financial literacy actually correlates with more frequent trading and worse investment outcomes in social media environments. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston tracked 50,000 investors with varying education levels during the meme stock boom. The group with advanced financial degrees traded 40% more frequently than average investors and underperformed the market by 3.2% annually. This happens because smart people make a crucial mistake. They assume their financial knowledge protects them from psychological manipulation. It doesn't. Knowledge helps you calculate compound interest and understand PE ratios. It cannot protect you from the fear that everyone else knows something you don't. Reddit's Wall Street Bets exploited this fear brilliantly during the GameStop surge. The community created what behavioral economists call smart money FOMO, the anxiety that sophisticated investors feel when ordinary people appear to be getting rich. Professional fund managers watched teenagers turn thousands into millions and questioned everything they thought they knew about markets. The psychology is predictable. Intelligent investors pride themselves on spotting opportunities others miss. When social media presents unanimous excitement about an investment, their expertise makes them ask, "What am I not seeing?" This question, born from intellectual humility, leads them directly into crowd behavior. Consider how crypto Twitter operates. The platform rewards confident predictions over nuanced analysis. A portfolio manager might privately understand that cryptocurrency valuations are largely speculative. But when their feed shows consistent profits from traders half their age, doubt creeps in. The same analytical mind that built their career now works against them, constructing elaborate justifications for following the crowd. Intelligence creates another problem: overconfidence in pattern recognition. Smart investors excel at finding connections between data points. Social media feeds them endless information that feels like insight, but is actually noise. They see correlations where none exist, and mistake activity for progress. The most dangerous trap involves in-group identity. When accomplished professionals join investing communities, whether elite crypto Discord servers or exclusive trading Twitter circles, they face subtle pressure to conform. Nobody wants to be the skeptic who doesn't get it when everyone else is profiting. Group membership overrides individual judgment, even among people whose careers depend on independent thinking. Part 4. Noise, Luck, and the Illusion of Being Informed. The most dangerous 4 words in modern finance might be, "I read on Twitter." Every day, millions of people make financial decisions based on what they encountered during their morning scroll. They think they are staying informed. They are actually drowning in noise. Think about the last time you read about a stock that was going to the moon, or a crypto token that was the next big thing. The information felt urgent and actionable. It probably came with impressive-looking charts, confident predictions, and social proof from strangers who claimed to be making millions. But here's what you are actually looking at: sophisticated randomness disguised as insight. True financial signal is information that genuinely improves your ability to make decisions. It's Warren Buffett's annual letter explaining Berkshire's long-term strategy. It's your company's quarterly earnings report showing actual revenue growth. It's your personal spending data revealing where your money actually goes each month. Signal is rare, boring, and requires effort to interpret. Noise is everything else. It's the crypto influencer posting screenshots of their portfolio gains without mentioning their losses. It's the day trader sharing their foolproof strategy after one lucky week. It's the endless stream of market predictions, hot stock tips, and financial fear-mongering that fills your feed. Noise feels urgent and actionable, but consuming it makes you worse at making financial decisions, not better. Social media platforms have accidentally built the perfect noise amplification machine. The algorithms don't promote accurate information, they promote engaging information. A measured analysis of why index fund investing works gets 12 likes. A post claiming someone turned $500 into $50,000 with this one weird trick gets 10,000 shares. The platform rewards confidence over calibration, drama over data. Consider GameStop in early 2021. Millions of people believed they were participating in a sophisticated financial revolution. They felt incredibly informed, consuming hours of analysis from Reddit users with impressive-sounding usernames. Most lost money. They weren't stupid. They were consuming financial noise that felt like signal because it came wrapped in community, narrative, and social proof. The cruelest aspect is survivorship bias. Your feed shows you the winners of random events who have retrospectively constructed stories of skill and foresight. For every person posting their crypto gains, dozens suffered losses in silence. The algorithms ensure you see the lucky few, not the unlucky many. This constant exposure to financial noise creates decision fatigue, analysis paralysis, and chronic anxiety about missing out. It erodes your trust in your own judgment and replaces it with dependence on the crowd. Being less informed by social media isn't ignorance. Chapter 5. Scroll less, think more. Part 1. The richest people online talk about money the least. Warren Buffett's Twitter account has 1.3 million followers, yet his last tweet about investing was in 2017. Meanwhile, countless self-proclaimed financial experts post multiple times daily to audiences a fraction of that size, sharing hot takes, predictions, and portfolio screenshots. This pattern reveals something profound about genuine wealth. The people with the most sustainable financial success operate in near silence online. Research by Northwestern University tracked 10,000 high-net-worth individuals over 5 years and found an inverse relationship between social media financial activity and actual returns. Those who posted frequently about investments averaged 3.2% lower annual returns than those who remained quiet. This silence isn't accidental. When Morgan Housel interviewed dozens of millionaires for The Psychology of Money, he discovered that most viewed their wealth as deeply private. They understood that true wealth consists largely of what you don't see: the vacation not taken, the car not upgraded, the restaurant meal not Instagrammed. Each unreported financial win represented freedom from social performance. The loudest voices online often have the least to lose. Gary Vaynerchuk admitted in a 2022 interview that his constant posting about business success stemmed from insecurity about his actual net worth compared to tech billionaires. The admission was telling. Those performing wealth online may be compensating for gaps in their actual financial position. Consider the difference between Charlie Munger and typical crypto influencers. Munger, worth hundreds of millions, gave perhaps 3 public interviews per year. Crypto influencers with far smaller portfolios produce daily content, sharing every trade and prediction. The contrast isn't coincidental. It reflects different relationships with money itself. Studies from the University of Chicago show that people who frequently discuss their financial decisions online report 40% more financial stress than those who keep such matters private. The performance aspect of social media turns money into content, but content creation incentives rarely align with good financial decision-making. The wealthiest individuals understand that financial decisions benefit from invisibility. When no one watches, you can make boring choices that compound over decades. When every decision becomes potential content, the pressure to be interesting often overrides the wisdom of being predictable. This insight points toward what researchers call quiet money, a philosophy that insulates financial decision-making from social visibility, comparison, and performance pressures. The goal isn't secrecy, but rather removing the distorting influence of an audience from choices that should be purely personal. Part 2. Slow money in a fast feed. The trading apps on your phone update prices every few milliseconds. Yet the most successful investor of all time, Warren Buffett, famously checks stock prices so rarely that he often jokes about not even knowing what his portfolio is worth on any given day. This stark contrast reveals something profound about money in the digital age. Speed has become the enemy of wealth. When Netflix stock drops 15% after hours, your phone buzzes with breaking news alerts. When GameStop surges 400% in a week, Reddit threads explode with celebration posts. When crypto crashes overnight, Twitter fills with either panic or buy the dip mantras. This constant stream of financial updates creates an illusion that immediate action is required. Research from UCLA's Anderson School of Management tracked 60,000 retail investors over 5 years. Those who checked their portfolios daily averaged 2.3% lower annual returns than those who checked monthly. The daily checkers made 7 times more trades and paid significantly more in fees. Their brains, wired for immediate response, interpreted normal market fluctuations as urgent signals requiring action. Consider what happened during the March 2020 market crash. While institutional investors largely held their positions, retail investors sold $50 billion in equity funds in a single week. Many of these decisions were made within minutes of reading alarming headlines or seeing panic posts on social media. By contrast, investors who imposed a simple 48-hour delay before making any fear-based selling decision typically avoided the worst of their impulses. The market recovered to new highs within 6 months. The most powerful financial decisions often feel boring in the moment. Dollar cost averaging into index funds generates no social media engagement. Maxing out a 401k match creates no viral content. These activities lack the dopamine hit of day trading or the social validation of posting portfolio screenshots. Yet they form the foundation of virtually every successful long-term financial outcome. Your phone wants you to react immediately. Your financial future benefits from the opposite approach. The gap between these two realities creates the space where intentional slowness becomes a competitive advantage. Every successful investor eventually learns that time, not timing, drives wealth creation. Part 3. Building a personal filter for financial noise. Think of your social media feed as a crowded restaurant where everyone is a food critic, shouting different recommendations. Without a filter, you might order everything at once and end up sick. Your financial life needs the same kind of deliberate curation. The first step involves creating what researchers call an information diet. Not avoiding information entirely, but choosing sources the way you'd choose what to put in your body. Warren Buffett reads annual reports and newspapers. He doesn't check stock prices every 5 minutes or follow day trading accounts on Instagram. This isn't because he's old-fashioned. It's because he understands that useful information looks different from entertaining information. When you encounter financial content on social media, 3 questions cut through most of the noise. What is this person selling? Can they prove what they're claiming? Would I make this decision if no one was watching? These questions work because they expose the 2 biggest problems with social media financial advice: hidden incentives and social pressure. Take the crypto influencer with 100,000 followers posting screenshots of massive gains. Ask about incentives first. Many of these accounts make money from referral codes, course sales, or simply the attention that comes from posting extreme positions. The screenshots might be real, but you're not seeing the losses or the fact that they're making more money selling courses than trading. Evidence becomes crucial because social media rewards confidence over accuracy. A study by behavioral economists at Duke University found that the most confident-sounding financial predictions on social platforms were also the least accurate. The person shouting about the next big stock move with absolute certainty is often someone who just started investing 6 months ago. Track record matters more than follower count. Transparency beats production quality. If someone won't show you their actual long-term results or explain their methodology, they're probably performing rather than teaching. Real financial expertise usually sounds boring. It involves discussions of asset allocation, risk management, and time horizons, topics that generate fewer likes than promises of quick wealth. The social dimension requires the most careful handling. When friends start talking about their latest investment wins, you don't need to become the fun police. Instead, ask gentle questions. How did you research that? Or what's your plan if it goes down? Often, this helps them think more clearly without creating conflict. Building these filters takes practice, but the alternative is expensive. Every dollar you don't lose to social media-driven financial decisions is a dollar that can compound over decades. Part 4. The one question to ask before any financially inspired decision. After constructing your personal filters, the real test arrives in the split-second moments when social media content pushes you toward financial action. Warren Buffett once said his favorite holding period is forever, yet the average investor checks their portfolio 8.5 times per day. This gap between wisdom and behavior reveals something profound about how social environments reshape our thinking. Consider Sarah Chen, a software engineer from Austin. In March 2021, she watched her Twitter feed explode with GameStop success stories. Friends posted screenshots of massive gains. Influencers promised this was just the beginning. Standing in line at Starbucks, phone in hand, she felt the familiar rush of social pressure mixed with FOMO. But instead of opening her trading app, she asked herself one simple question. Would I make this decision if nobody could see me making it? The question stopped her cold. Without the audience, without the social proof, Without the fear of missing out on the conversation, would she really put $10,000 into a struggling video game retailer? The honest answer was no. She walked away, saved herself from joining the wave of retail investors who lost an estimated $13 billion when the bubble burst. This single question cuts through every distortion social media introduces into financial decision-making. It isolates two primary forces: social performance and social pressure. When you strip away the audience, when you remove the possibility of sharing your wins or hiding your losses, what decisions would you actually make? The question works across every financial context. Before that impulse purchase triggered by an Instagram ad, ask it. Before investing in the cryptocurrency your YouTube feed keeps promoting, ask it. Before taking financial advice from someone who makes money selling courses about making money, ask it. Robert Shiller's research on narrative economics shows how viral stories drive entire market cycles. The dot-com boom, the housing bubble, the GameStop frenzy, all fueled by social contagion more than fundamentals. But when you ask whether you'd make the same decision in complete privacy, you separate genuine opportunity from social theater. This isn't about becoming a financial hermit. It's about recognizing when social influence is driving the decision versus your own rational analysis. Sometimes the answer will still be yes. You would make the same choice even with no audience. That's when you know the decision is truly yours.